Hello, this is Diane. I'm ready to work on the embellishments for the third signature of my journal. So this is what I did on the front of this third signature. I have a piece of muslin, coffee dyed muslin. I stitched this fabric to it and did a little stamping on it and added some lace and a little piece of ribbon. Then we'll talk about the embellishments. So right here I have my fabric. I didn't stamp on it. And I have my little embellishment that I inked already, and I'm going to stamp on it, or sew on it. I'm going to see if I can find that little stamp that I used. It's from Button Boutique from Paper Tray Ink. I have a couple of paper tray ink sets in here, I think. So it's just this little strip that says 25 cents on it. And right here is a ad for glycerin and rose water. Edge curls under. It's faint, but it's there. Your images aren't going to be as crisp on fabric. Okay, this piece of lace is a little bit wide, so I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to add this little piece of ribbon. And I have this little piece that I cut from a doily. I'll just sew it to my page. Now, these journals do not have a theme. I like just being able to take random items and put them in a book. So I used papers that were already coffee dyed. I just took them from my coffee dye stash. Just using this eclectic assortment of ephemera images from the kit. And so it is kind of vintage because the ephemera is vintage and things are copy dyed, and the lace is vintage lace. But I wasn't like trying to have a vintage effect, but I did use vintage stamps. So it does, I would say if it has a theme, it's vintage, but it doesn't really have a particular theme to it. So for the inside, I just took one of the images. This one is a pretty trade card, advertising card. And I just sewed it to copy dyed paper and added this little piece of lace medallion on there. For this one, I took this vintage calendar printable. This is also from the kit. Again, copy dyed paper, and then just glued this little piece of lace on there. But I also made this little booklet. So it has a scrap of scrapbook paper, copy dyed. Well, this is scrapbook paper too, but it looks like notebook paper. Tissue or tracing paper, notebook paper, ledger, a piece from the kit, a piece of ephemera, and then a vintage ticket, and I stamped vintage style on it. Oh boy, I have all those pieces gathered up and clipped together. Where did they go? I'm not going to make another set. You can see what I did. I just stacked everything and then stitched across the top, and that's it. But I have it here somewhere. Here it is. So, scrapbook paper, the scrapbook notebook paper, tracing paper, notebook paper that was copy dyed and the lines bled a little bit. I like that. Ledger, piece of ephemera, and then this is the little vintage ticket that I'm using. I stamped vintage style on it right there. Okay, there's that ephemera. This is from the kit, and it's a chart, a graph of some sort. So these were on the same page. They're slightly different. I like the pink color on them, of course. Stitched it to some copy dyed paper, inked around the edge, and now I have a little piece of trim. I might just have to cut another one because I don't see it right here. Thought I had everything gathered up together. It's in my ribbon bucket, but it's this woven trim. I have to organize my ribbon bucket because every time I've got ribbons that don't fit down in there and they're sitting on top, and every time I move it, they fall. So I've got to eliminate some ribbons. If they don't fit in the bucket, that's too many. It's my new mantra. So this is just a vintage woven trim that I got in a bunch of stuff at a flea market. Don't really know what it's for. It's going to be sewn right there. I took my heart punch and punched out some shapes, some heart shapes, obviously. So I punched one out, and I want to do another one with tracing paper. Just looking for a scrap of tracing paper. There's one. Now, I can't punch tracing paper. It will just tear the paper, so I want 2 scrapbook paper, so I only punched one so that I can do one here with the tracing paper. So if I have another paper with the tracing paper, it should punch just fine. Let's just see. Oh yes, beautiful. So I'm going to put that in the middle, the tracing paper in the middle. Actually, I think I want it on the top. I'm just going to stitch down the center. Whoops, sorry. Getting violent here, taking my machine apart and knocking you to smithereens. Fluff it a little. Not that it'll stay fluffed because it'll be closed in a book. And did I glue that or sew it? I glued it. I'm just going to glue that on here as a little embellishment. I'm only gluing half of the heart because this part is going to be hanging off the page. This one needs a charm too. Trying to find littler ones. I don't want big giant things hanging off the side of the page. This one's just a little clear, kind of a rainbow. I'll go back through once the book is put together and maybe move the clips up or down so that they're not all hanging from the same spot, the same height on the book. What is this going to go on this page? I'm using a lot of charms in this book, so I'm probably going to have to make some more pretty soon. Okay, there's that embellishment done. What's next? This one, I think I already did that. Yeah, it's just a large piece of ephemera that I stitched copy dyed paper. This one, it was actually wider than this, so I just folded it in half and slipped it over the edge. So this is going to be the last piece. Why do I have something left over? Oh, this goes somewhere. I took it out. I'm not sure where it goes. I think it goes in there. Okay. Okay, so that goes there. Now I need something for my pocket here. There it is. And I back it with some, actually some craft cardstock, just to make it sturdier. It could be any cardstock scrap. But I have this right here. I don't want it, that edge is curling a little bit, and I don't want the pocket to be curly. It's not going to be sewn completely up to the edge. It's going to be a tuck spot. I don't want it curling. Of course, having it enclosed in the book would help flatten it out. This is an image of some children and some puppies, and the mama dog right there. It's very cute. Looks like a faded vintage image. So I'm going to stitch around this. And I'm going to gather this little strip of fabric. I'm just going to sew a gathering stitch, which is a basting stitch, the longest stitch on your machine. Straight stitch. I know I won't need the piece to be this long. You don't back stitch so that when you pull on one of these threads, it gathers the fabric. Whoop, pardon me again. I'll sew it on there and then cut off the excess. Put it back on zigzag. I don't know why I felt like putting a ruffle on top of that pocket, but I did. And it helps add some color to that muted picture. I'm only going to sew the bottom and the left hand side. I have this piece. It's already got its coffee dyed paper. I just have to sew around it. Now I just have one more ephemera to make, but my daughter just texted me a question. Just going to answer her real quick. She said, "What you doing?" I said, "Crafting." So, sorry. For the last thing, I have this piece of, it's from a file folder, although it looks more yellow than a typical file folder does. Oh, I bet my front door is unlocked. My front door is locked. She's at my door. She probably can't get in. So I will be back to show you my last piece of ephemera, and probably maybe tomorrow. So thanks for watching. Bye.